Cool. And the Instagram. Hello, Bradford Brooks. How's it going? Apparently I have people on things. So this is fun. I'm now live streaming in 3 places because I have way too many devices. But hello and welcome. Hey, Stephanie. This is me eating cheese because it's been a busy day. How are your days going so far? Obviously, this is not a two-way conversation, but people can type things and I can see them and hopefully figure out how to respond. Hey, Chris Brody, how you doing? And we have a Jay Ernst has joined as well. Funnily enough, Gouda is exactly what I'm eating. Oh. So I don't have any kind of specific plan here today. I just figured I'd do a live stream thing and answer questions and talk about stuff and do some yo-yos and yeah. Had Yo-Yo Club today for the first time in many months. New kid has started yo-yoing and wanted to join the club, and I finally got organized enough to run a meet. Sure, what's up with your friend? And Jason, thanks. I've been working really hard this year to quote unquote killing it. So I guess I'm going to repeat this to every couple of minutes, but I'm live streaming in 3 places, so I'll be getting some questions that the rest of you won't see. Oh, Bradford, that was terrible, and I love it. Good joke. Good joke. Yeah, over on Instagram, Jason Ernest said, I'm killing it this year. So, one of the fun things with my book, we're doing this product placement. That's backwards. There we go. Is about half of what's in that book I learned while researching how to self-publish a book and how to be an indie author. It's a lot of the stuff is what gets suggested for how to sell books. And what I learned is that's also how to sell anything. And one of the things is having a backlist. So every time you release a yo-yo, you find it finds its way to new people. And that's great. They buy a yo-yo. But what you want is to give them somewhere else to go after that, so they don't need to go to another brand for the next yo-yo. So the plan this year was to release a ridiculous number of yo-yos, so I'd have a backlist, and I'd have somewhere for you to go once you've tried one of my yo-yos. Stephanie, I'm amused that you're watching in 2 places. So, ask me some questions. Treat this like an ask me anything kind of moment. Hi, Lucky. So it's an interesting little snapshot for me of how much attention I'm getting on any given platform. Obviously, the Facebook one's great because it's the Minions group, so I know you're there. So far, I don't think I got anybody watching on YouTube, but we'll see. YouTube takes a little while to send notifications out. They do it through email, whereas Instagram and Facebook notify you and it pops up right away. Hi, Peter Hunter. It amuses me that nobody has asked about the yo-yo yet. I kind of figured that would be a, hey, what's that? It's white, it's Delrin, and it's responsive. But I'm not going to tell you until somebody asks, because that would be too easy. Ha. What is the most difficult part of publishing your own book, and is it easier to design and make a new yo-yo? No, the book was, well, writing the book's harder than designing and releasing a yo-yo. Publishing it is way easier. So getting a book published through a traditional publisher is a decade-long nightmare. Publishing a book yourself is stupid simple. And what's interesting is it's kind of, there's a parallel to how the yo-yo industry has changed with people being able to sell their yo-yos direct instead of having to go through a retail store. So when I started yo-yoing 10 years ago, Caribou Lodge didn't sell yo-yos directly except at contests. They had to go through a retail store, and anybody else, Spy and all the other small brands at the time. So there weren't people like me who were selling directly through their own website. Books have gone the same route. Same thing with music. You had Napster kill the way CDs were distributed, and now you have streaming music and downloadable MP3s and the ability to sell things direct. Well, publishing's the same. There's all these different resources for publishing your book. For print books, these are published through a thing called Ingram Spark. And to do that, you need to set up an account. So you've got to have a business tax number, which is easy enough to do. And then you create an account and upload your manuscript. You have to get an ISBN number, which outside of Canada costs about $50 each unless you buy them in bundles. But in Canada, I get my ISBNs free, which is fun because you need a different one for each version of the book. So the paperback and the hardcover each have a different one, and as does the ebook. If I want to put them on Amazon, same kind of idea. I make an account through something called KDP, or Kindle Direct Publishing, and I upload my manuscript, upload my title page. They turn it into a print book. I double check the formatting of it, and away we go. So example, this version of the Duck Book was one of the ones I did. Like I published this to Amazon to practice the process of publishing a book. And the print was a little big. The first version didn't quite have everything formatted right, so I made another one. Same idea happened with these books. So this one, if you order one off Amazon, Amazon prints it and ships it. I don't ever touch it. It just goes. So it takes zero effort on my end beyond convincing people to buy it. Whereas designing a yo-yo requires me chasing Justin Scott Larson in circles until he's got the time in between children and running aircraft things to design it, and then I have to chase down the shop to get me a prototype and go, well, this isn't quite right, the pads are wrong, we need to fix it, and then I get to do more, and then I order them, and then I got to package them, and then I got to convince you all to buy them. Way more work than uploading a file. Writing the book, on the other hand, huge amount of work. Okay, now to answer the question, what yo-yo is this? As I show it to all three cameras, I may just shut down the YouTube live stream because nobody's watching it there. Any guesses? Any guesses? It is the Delrin Gamer. This will be November. We just have to deal with a couple of issues. The slim bearing sits too high, the gap's too wide, and the pad recess was not wide enough for the gamer pads, so it doesn't quite have the responsive feel. But we got the weight right. It plays great. I'm loving it that way. So we'll get that fixed for the production. Questions. Joseph Daniel Aldris, how much does it cost to get a prototype? Depends on the yo-yo and the shop. I've had shops quote me as high as $400 or $500 for a 6061 yo-yo, and I've gotten it for as low as $200. It depends in part on the design. So with these, I got 5 of them. Prototype cost me $260 for the 5 plus $50 to get it shipped to me here between cost of shipping and Canada Customs, which makes them like $70 each for the prototype. So prototypes are stupid expensive. So that answers that question. Any other questions? I can talk all day. I could read to you from my book. Random page. Submitting a video. This can be a lot of work, depending on how you pick a winner. Oh, this is in my chapter on giveaways and contests. Giveaways and contests, how to run them. Yay. So the submit a video contest, as you've probably seen if you're a Minions group, slightly less effective than others because it takes work. People have to take the time to film something and upload it. So if you choose a random winner based on the did you submit a video criteria, you don't even have to watch them. I do watch them, but you don't have to. You can just random number it. If you choose to judge the videos, on the other hand, based on skill, creativity, humor, difficulty, you'll be watching a lot of videos. A lot of videos. Things from the book. I'll get back to that. Another question. Best-selling or in-city skills throw? Gamer, hands down. Well, most selling has been the gamer. I've made 800 of them. That's right, 800. I have one left on the shelf. Yo-Yo Expert's got about 30. Yo-Yo Sam's got about 20. And that's it, which is crazy. Now, about three or 400 of those went to Free Hinton's charity, my schools that I work with at cost. So I didn't really make money off of those. But the rest of them I did pretty well. Good guess on the Duck Bradford. I think I've sold 200-ish of those now, which is pretty cool. The Looney, if you're looking at speed of sales, the Looney has done the best. When I released it back in February, I sold 100 in a month, which was nuts. But I also underpriced it rather drastically. So there it is. Yeah, other yo-yos have been hit or miss. The one that has been the least best selling, I think, has been the Retro Rocket. That was not the right one to have sold at a $65 price point through retail stores. I should have just gone direct with that one so I could charge $50 and people would have bought it. It's the undersized, odd shape. It's a great yo-yo, but not one that people will just look at, click on, and buy. So there's that. One of the fun things with prototypes of yo-yos, so I'm really enjoying doing, sorry, I'm really gummed up today. I'm enjoying doing laser engravings in yo-yos because you can have some fun with it. The Convoy, this design was done in a hurry by Waylon Craze. He whipped that up because originally we were just going to do one skull and crossbones, but when they tested it, it looked like this, which was mildly ridiculous. It looks terrible with the Lego nub in the middle. So we tried this, and one little skull and crossbones was tiny, and Waylon said, give me 5 minutes. And then bam, that. So that was kind of cool. So I've got that one. Don't know what I'm going to do with that. Might find a collector to sell it to, might just keep it. But engravings are fun. I'm going to be doing more engravings on yo-yos as time goes. Let's see what we got for questions. Bradford Brooks, now you were a competitor in what class? 4A or 5A? 4A. Hold on. Which screen's asking this? Here we go. So those were Pacific Northwest Regionals, a first and a second place. Western Canadian Regionals, BC Provincials, first place. This was Canadian Nationals. That was my second first place win. Yeah, 2017, that was my first place win. 2016, I was second place. Michael Whitteman just barely beat me that year. And then this was my last competition year. This was my stand down. I let Terrence beat me so I could quit yo-yoing and retire. That's what I have to say about that. This was really cool. That was the 2016 actual trophy thing. 44 RPM, I think, donated those. And it went with this one, which is actually, stand this up again. And how does this look? So this one actually comes off the clip and is a playable yo-yo. You can slip a string in there. I'm not going to because I bashed it once and it's a little wiggly and I don't want to break it, but that's kind of fun that it's actually a yo-yo. So first place, that answers that one. Stephanie asks, do you do the engravings yourself? Short answer there is no. Longer answer is still no. I don't know why I differentiated. I don't do art. I don't do design thingies. I sell stuff. So engravings come from other people. So the Convoy was Waylon Crace. The SETI was Cameron Blair did those up for me, which was great. He just whipped them together in an afternoon. It was hilarious. What else have I done engravings on? I don't remember who did the designed the engravings for the Retro Rocket. That might have been Cameron Blair as well. So there we go. I can see how ADHD would be a plus in yo-yo. How did you handle the downside of ADHD with practice and staying on track? The ADHD wasn't a problem. One of the things with ADHD is, depending on how it manifests in the brain, is the hyper distracted is mirrored with a hyper focused when truly interested. It's a thing I manipulate in my classes when I'm teaching smaller kids that clearly have ADHD. If I can find a way to get them obsessed about something, I can just work everything else into that. So with yo-yo, I had no problem focusing the practice. My problem with practice was car accidents. As I was hitting my stride, getting to the point where I could compete reasonably, I got sideswiped by a snowplow when I was coming back from PNWR. I think that was the year I came in second place. And that completely wrecked my back. What it did was fried my nervous system. I lost my postural muscles, all just got messed up, and I couldn't, like, to this day, I can't stand up straight and maintain posture without thinking about it. And what that did, particularly with off-string, with the type of motions, it really is tough. And what I figured out was I could still practice in small doses. And if you put in the time and you know how to practice, you don't need to put in hours every day to get good at something, as long as it's focused time. So what I would do was each day I'd pick one combo and I would do 2 sets of about 10 minutes of intense practice trying to master that one combo. And I'd stick with that one until I could do it. My goal was 10 times in a row without mistakes. I never made that. That was Jake Elliott gave me that suggestion. I got to the point where I could do 5 out of 10, and generally I was happy with that. And then once I had all of my combos where I wanted them, I started, each day I'd run my competition routine to music. I'd do it twice back to back. I'd take a break, do some breathing exercises, do it again. That was it, every day for 2 years while I was competing. So yeah. That's not really the answer to the question you asked, but the downside of ADHD with practice and staying on track. Where the ADHD kills me is running my business. The thing that people don't know so much about ADHD is the biggest deficit is not attention, it's time. So I don't have a time sense beyond the immediate. People with neurotypical brains are able to think about the future as a real thing and think about the past as a real thing that happened or will happen. My brain doesn't work that way. Right now is all that exists. Everything else is a fabrication I have to force myself to think about. So long-term planning is really, really difficult, and staying on track with a given task is difficult. What I have matured into doing is I can leap between tasks depending on which I can focus on. And it's just a case of limiting my life, structuring my life really aggressively so that the things that I need to do are easy enough to do and they're in my face. It's little things like all of my shelving in here. Let's grab the two cameras. All of my shelving, clear plastic tubs, well labeled. No, don't end live video. Stop. Well labeled, reasonably well organized. I've spent a fair bit of money hiring people to come in and organize me because that was just the only way that me running a business was going to work. So there you go. My goal is to meet you and learn how to throw this stinking off string. First up, important piece of advice, wash your yo-yos, they smell less. So here's how you learn to throw off string. You ready? Take your favorite 1A yo-yo. Use a slightly shorter string, but not super short. Palm down, you're going to throw up like you're throwing a forward pass. Put this hand here. The trick to throwing and catching an off-string yo-yo is you practice with the 1A first to get the catch. And the trick to it, when you make the move to 4A, is don't throw the yo-yo, then try to catch it. Throw the yo-yo, and when it unwinds about 3/4 of the way, grab the string and pull the string out of the yo-yo. That makes the yo-yo, instead of going up in the air at the end of the string, kick back towards you. So I pulled it back down to the string, makes it a lot easier to catch. But yeah, Bradford, one day you will meet me. Where do you live? What contests are near you? There's people on Instagram, they're not asking questions unless I'm not able to see the questions they ask. So there's that. Still no one on YouTube. I don't think that's working out very well. Which tells me, as a business person, I need to consider putting more work into my YouTube channel and figuring out what's involved in getting YouTube happening. TN. That is Tennessee, right? Don't know where that is in relation to everything else. Oh, it's way down there. I don't know what contests are near there. Kentucky, Arkansas, North Carolina. Yeah, I don't know what contests are near you. You might just have to come to something I'm going to be at. I'm going to be at U.S. Nationals this year. That's the plan. It's awesome you have a business because I thought it was impossible. It's crazy how much seeing someone like you succeed lets you know it's possible. I'm glad to be inspirational, Joseph. The trick with any personality type is figuring out what will work for you. I think the ADHD thing, in one hand, gives me a bit of an advantage in trying to run a business because I'm constantly moving, adapting, innovating, and learning, and willing to try things and take chances. It's also a detriment because I do often handicap myself by doing things like going on AliExpress and going, that'd be great. No, that wasn't going to be great. I should have thought about it longer. That's not what I need. I'm going to have to buy another thing that's the same to do the job better. So I spend money that I shouldn't spend, and I make some decisions that are not the best because I have not been paying attention. Hello, Pete. I'm going to go Zapla or Kapla or yeah. Pete, welcome. Somebody else just joined. Can I scroll up? I can scroll up. Oh, a menu. I did not say hello to you and Ethan Flynn. So, well, it's funny. My mom's an elementary school principal, and one of the challenges, when we're meeting with parents and talking about kids that we know have ADHD, we're not allowed to make any kind of recommendation around medication for anything. So if a parent comes in and says, the pediatrician wants to try my child on ADHD medication, what do you think? I'm only allowed to say, listen to your doctor. Here's what's been observed. This is what they know. You're going to need to make that decision. But what my mom can do now is she can say, well, I can't speak to what you should do for your child, but my son has lived with ADHD his whole life, and 3 years ago he went on medication, and he's now written a book and published it and has a successful small business. So maybe think about that. And I've had that conversation with parents. And it's neat because most teachers don't know how to manage ADHD well. I don't work full-time teaching because of my various injuries in the back. I job share with another teacher, and last year we had a student in the class that was really challenging. ADHD was the tip of the iceberg, and he killed it. He did. My job share partner was just about died of stress last year. I managed him fine. And I had a lot of good talks with his parents because I was able to give advice and work around it. The one that killed me was, it was like May before I finally figured out if I just stuck a pair of headphones on this kid, he could sit down and work for an hour. My funniest ADHD related one was in university. Papers, exams, sometimes you gotta pull an all-nighter. Friend of mine had Ritalin that they'd gotten from a cousin who had a prescription that didn't use it. And in a neurotypical brain, if you take Ritalin, it's like you've drank 6 pots of coffee. You're good to go for a good solid 4 to 6 hours. I tried it a few times, and every time I did, I fell asleep. In hindsight, that's because I should have been on it. So there we go. Hello, Ryan A. Murray. And we have a whole bunch of people joined. I'm not going to name, I'm not even going to try to name names and mispronounce them and insult people, but welcome to the people that are here. So I'm answering questions, I'm talking about my book, I'm talking about yo-yos. I showed off the Delrin Gamer that's dropping next month. Probably talked about the Ouroboros. Were you raised and born in Canada, and if so, why don't you say A lot? First, it's spelled E-H, not the letter A. And the reason being, this is a fun tidbit that you may not be aware of. The West Coast Canadian accent is the TV accent you hear the most often, especially in science fiction type stuff and in a lot of like people that read things and talk about things. The West Coast BC accent is a favored one because it is one of the more neutral English accents. It's clearly an accent, but it's one that doesn't have a lot of strong sounds one way or another. So that's a fun fact. But the A is more of an East Coast thing, although I do use it. I remember in high school, my band went on a field trip. We went to San Francisco, and we were billeted with the band kids there, and the one I was staying with took great glee in pointing it out every time I said A. So that's a thing. And yeah, so there you go. Yeah, if you go to the maritime provinces on the East Coast, you get thick accents, and the accents that get stereotyped, the Canadian accents, are vaguely based on theirs. And what's interesting is you get a couple different things. If you go to Newfoundland, you get an accent with a strong Irish heritage, because a lot of Irish people landed in Newfoundland. You go to Nova Scotia, you get more of a Scottish hint, Nova Scotia, New Scotland. And there's a place called Cape Breton where you get this weird mix of Scottish, French, and who knows. Like I remember we were in a campsite and I was walking behind a group of teenagers going, I should understand what you're saying, but I don't. So accents are wild, but it's no different. There's places in the States, that the stereotypical Southerner accent that's very distinct and doesn't necessarily represent the majority of the population in urban areas. You got to get out to more rural areas to get thicker accents. There you go. SEYY in Orlando, one in North Carolina. Oh, there are contests down there. Cool. I may need to check those out. I gotta look at. I'd love it if there was a contest schedule somewhere that I could look at and plan long term, instead of things like somebody told me today there's a Las Vegas Open contest in November. That's not enough time. Do I actually make a profit making yo-yos? What's the profit margin, if you don't mind me asking? One of my projects in the next month, I'm going to trade labor with my wife. she's going to sit down and try to do something with my accounting system so that I can actually figure out if I'm making money, because I haven't. At this point, once a year I sit down and do my taxes. Last year, I theoretically made $8,000. Not real money, because that is deductions, is the expenses that I get to claim back from the government, get credits and that. But that was last year. And that was also because I sold off all of the Return Top Shop inventory, which bumped up my numbers. This year is going to be the year that tells whether or not I'm making money. It's going to be what it is I've got to take into account existing inventory plus sales against costs, which is complicated math. My profit margin varies from yo-yo to yo-yo. The author, just the yo-yo in my hands, in my house, accounting for B grades, costs me between $20 and $25. Add in extras, so you count the ebook I included, which is $7, that puts it up to $32. I sold them for $50, so that's an $18 profit on that one. Now I'm also in that price accounting for the ones I give to reviewers, the ones I give to my team, and sponsorship. And even then, I'm not necessarily doing the best job of accounting for all of the business costs, which is one of the things I need to figure out. It's because things like my Shopify account costs $40 a month. That's the profit of 2 yo-yos. The first 2 yo-yos each month that I sell pay for my Shopify account. The next yo-yo I sell, well, every yo-yo costs me a couple bucks in PayPal or credit card fees. There's a lot of little things layered in. So short answer, I'm not making money yet. Long term, I'm figuring out how to make that happen. The goal is, I promised my wife by February I'd be putting $200 a month in my bank account. So we'll see. I'm hoping the books add to that as I get those out and about. More people will. I'm hoping people will find my books, read them, and go, "Oh, yo-yos, cool! I'll buy that." I've got plans. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, but I'm not forcing it out too early. My next book will be one that is actually more widely interesting. This one's pretty tiny niche, and that one will hopefully lead to more sales as well. So it's kind of a thing. What hits me a lot is the unboxing experience that people love. Costs money. That's not free. So let's grab one. What have I got that's packaged up and ready to go? All right, so let's look at the metal head. Yo-yo costs, again, 20 to 25 bucks. The numbers on this one were sketchier because there were so many B grades, but let's say the yo-yo cost me 25 bucks. With the yo-yo comes stickers and trading cards. The sticker and the trading card each cost me 50 bucks to make for the batch. So that's 100 bucks on top of the run, divided by 200 yo-yos, 50 cents a yo-yo. Strings, 10 cents a yo-yo. I include 3 of them, so that's 30 cents, 80 cents. Guitar picks were about 50 cents a piece, so we're up to $1.60. Minifigures were about $1 each, $2.60. On this one there wasn't a fancy box. No, that's all $3.60. I'm not paying attention to my math, but it adds up pretty quick. And with this one, I'm splitting the profits with Thomas Velto. So really, all in, if we sell all of them, I get maybe 10 bucks. Tom and I get 10 bucks a piece each. Now, you start layering in all the costs, and that's tougher, but it's kind of the long roundabout answer to your question. So I think, in fact, I put numbers in here. Hold on. Table of contents, that's what it's for. Night shop testing, colorway. Chapter 13 is on page 108. Page 104, 6, 8. Team, types of materials, design, the guts, prototype, collecting quotes, questions, don't gamble on things, testing, the production run, that's where I need it to be. Colorways, oh, that's the thing that kills me the most. That one, I didn't ask for that. That's nothing like anything I asked for when I gave them the colors. They just, I think, threw it in with another batch. That happens all the time. I don't get a run of yo-yos where they're all what I asked for. The author, I wanted Space Invaders. I wanted to do the original Space Invaders color again. They ran 12 yo-yos, completely wrong colors. That was the fantasy colorway. And then ran this, which was vaguely closer. I mean, they turned out great, but it's maddening trying to plan around anodizing. Anyhow, where was I? Somewhere in here, I'm pretty sure I put costs. Oh, no, that's in my blog post. I gave rough costs in here. Here we go. So, total costs. Based on, I ballparked this big time, but based on running a small business, doing maybe 2 yo-yos a year, here's the numbers. So prototypes plus shipping, 2 runs a year, about $500. Cost of the production run, about $2,000 per 100 yo-yos-ish. So 4,000. Cost of yo-yos sent to players, that's kind of built into $4,000. Cost of advertising, you got to account for giveaways, reviewers. I budget about $300 per run. PayPal credit card fees is about $1 per yo-yo. Plus, I pay PayPal fees on ordering the yo-yos. So if I order 100 yo-yos for $2,000, I'm paying like close to $200 in PayPal fees. But you have to do that so you're protected. Packaging, stickers, extras, the works, business overhead. So that comes out to about $7,000 a year for 2 runs of yo-yos. All of the costs, which breaks it down to about $35 a yo-yo. So it's not a huge money maker, but I love doing it. And I think I can get to the point where I can make a bit of money. The 60, 65 yo-yos, I can charge a little bit more for. So there. Any more questions? I'm pondering what else to tell you. Oh, there we go. What's up with it and why does it seem so hard to get good anodizing done? Why are there so many B grades? Why does it seem as though yo-yo companies are at the mercies of producers? Okay. Rough how anodizing works. You take your raw parts, you clean the bejesus out of them, and then you don't touch them again without gloves on. You take them and you kind of boil them in acid. That's not quite right, but that's roughly what happens. And it etches little tiny microscopic holes in the metal. You then soak them in dye, and the dye fills up the tiny holes. You mask that with something. When I've done it, it's been like concrete cement. Not concrete cement. I don't remember what the stuff's called, but there's types of paint you can use. But you mask where you want to keep the color, then you bleach off the rest. And then you dip it in the next color, mask, bleach off the rest. Lots of room for error in there, in small ways. So let me see if I can find one. Let me find Jibby Grade. Fades are really hard, because you're dipping them in the dye. And so you get bleed. It's hard to see, but like this one I called a B grade because look how little of it is the copper. So the actual dyeing, like it's clean, but that doesn't match the rest of the run. So I called it a B grade because I'm not selling something that doesn't match the run. This one, it's hard to tell. I don't think you'll be able to see it on the camera, but the inside the circle, the color's really washed out. Again, doesn't match, didn't quite work for me. So some of it is just me being picky. The shop I work with, they test and assemble for me, so anything that's got vibe, I pay half for, but I get like 2 or 3 a run. The rest of them, it's as I inspect them, I'm finding slight anodizing flaws. And there's no way around that. You're gonna get B grades from the anodizing because it's an art form. In terms of the colors not being what you like, I'm not spending enough money to demand quality. If I was making 500 of the same colorway, I'd have more power to say, look, these need to be perfect. But even then, I think it's just, it depends, it's you get what you pay for. I mean, the cost of anodizing in China is like $2 a yo-yo. The cost of anodizing in North America is like $12 a yo-yo. Even then, the hipster high life. Monkey Finger Ray did this prototype for me. This was supposed to be the hula hooper. Looks like a pile of hula hoops. I showed this picture to Gruntbull. I said, exactly, this is what I want. I know you can do it. Do this. He said, yes, we'll do it. Great. I got this. Does that look anything like that? Does it? Does it? Vaguely the right colors. Wrong technique. And that's paying $12 each. So it's art. You pay for art, you get what you get. Yeah. So with that, so that's your short answer. The really screwy thing is volume. If you're like Yo-Yo Factory or SF and you're able to make and sell 2,000 yo-yos, your costs go way down. So my problem, part of the reason I'm not making a profit right now is I'm not making enough yo-yos. If I could make 500 yo-yos and know that I can sell them, I could make some money. Because your costs go from $20 a yo-yo under 10 if you're making volume. But that's the tough bit. And Bradford Brooks, can you tell us the story with the hatred of ducks? It's all an act. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it is.